Alright. Hello, anybody who is watching this. I probably may know some of you, and some of you I probably don't know. It really doesn't make a difference. I just post when I feel like I have something to say, and today I have something to say. It will be less heavy today and more informational, because today I'm going to be talking about what my experience is like owning an older car. First of all, I just want to say, cars are not my hobby. I don't spend lots of time working on my car if I don't have to. I don't really make updates. I like things to be really vintage and original, so I don't really like to change anything about it. So, I know some things now, but I also want to say I don't know everything, and I don't spend a ton of time around a bunch of cars. Session about what I had to learn in order to own an old car. So I actually have my thoughts written down because last time I tried to make a video that I never ended up posting, I didn't write them down, and then it was a hot mess. I've made a list of bad things that have happened with me since I've owned a car, and good things. So I'll start by saying I own a 1991 Toyota Celica. It's not super old. I mean, people have older cars than that, but it's also not a super popular car, so it's older and it's rarer, which makes it really hard to work with. So I got the car when I was 18. When my older sister was growing up, my grandpa was working on an old car for her. It was a Ranchero, but it didn't have power steering, and my sister's pretty girly, so by the time my sister was old enough to drive, that's not the car she wanted. So we sold that, and she got a different one. This is gonna sound ungrateful, but it's not ungrateful. I did not really have a say in the car that I got, just because I didn't know that, my grandpa was fixing it up for me. I just showed up at their house one day, visiting, and he's like, "Hey, look, this is the car that I'm working on for you, that's gonna be yours." And I was just like, wow, okay. And I mean, it's a cute car. It's little and red, and it's two-door, and it's kind of sporty, but not super sporty, because it's from 1991, so it can really that was back when the national interstate speed was 55, so I can go 70 in it. It just revs really high. If someone had asked me what my first choice of car was, it was not that. I probably would have wanted I would have wanted an older car, but I probably would have wanted an older truck or something. But this is super cute, and it was a car for free, so I was excited, as I feel like most people would be or should be. Sorry, I just got out of the shower. That's why my hair is wet and my bangs are in my face and they're bothering me. So I'm not a cautious person. My phone right now is broken, which is what I'm filming this on. It's broken. I folded it up in a futon a couple of months ago and then kind of bent it in half. So, and no one was really surprised by that. I break everything. I break things, I leave things around, I forget where they are, I don't take care of my stuff, everybody knows that. So, it's been a really big adjustment, taking care of something that's so important. I mean, you want your car to perform well, you don't want it to just fall apart on the freeway. I've had a lot of rude awakenings about what it's like to take care of something actually and not be careless about it. So I'll talk about that. I blew the tire out. Yeah, it just didn't really make a lot of sense to me, but I didn't have time to think about if it made sense or not, because I was on my way to work. And at the time I was working downtown, so I had to drive to the train station and then take the train. So it was a long process, and I was looking for a place to park on the street across from the train station, and I was going 30 miles an hour, and I tried to turn into this diner, and I don't know what happened. I thought that there was a space for a driveway there, but I guess there wasn't, because I think I just ran over the curb. Then I parked the car, and I got out, and I immediately heard this loud hissing sound, and I was like, gas leak? But then I actually went to the tire, and I was like, is this a hole? And I put my finger over it, and then it stopped hissing. And I was like, oh my goodness, if I can hear the air coming out of it and see the hole, this is not going to last for me to go anywhere. And so like then I started freaking out because this had never happened to me before, and I was by myself and I was late to work and all this other stuff. And so like I called my dad, he's a teacher, he was in the middle of teaching a class, and I was like, oh my goodness, what do I do? He was like, just leave it there, go to work, and then when you're on your way home, call AAA. And I was like, got it. When I came back, I called AAA, and I called them too late, so like our timing didn't match up, so I was like waiting by my car for probably like 30 minutes before they came. But that is one thing I want to really recommend to you is AAA. My whole family has it. I love it. My friends love it too, because if they don't have it and I have it and they take me on a trip with them, they can use my AAA if they break down. He and I replaced the tire and put the flat one in my trunk. Someday my parents went and like got a new tire and took the spare off for me while I was away, I think, somewhere. Anyway, so I didn't have to deal with that part, which was really nice. I've been in a car that's broken down before, but I've never been responsible for the down car. So yes, always either have AAA or make sure you know how to change a tire. Also, my car is a stick shift. I love driving a stick shift, like now that I've learned, but I did my driver's test and I learned to drive and everything on an automatic. And so when I got the car, I was like, okay, like I gotta learn how to drive this. And so my dad taught me, but it took a lot of concentration. I got really, really tired. And one of the main things that I always forgot and that my dad always had to keep telling me is like, you're still driving the car. So just because you have this new thing added in, like to remember the gears and stuff, does not mean that you can stop focusing on the normal stuff you do, like signaling and paying attention and stopping at red lights and things like that, which I was having trouble with. You can't really like eating and drinking and being on your phone while you drive is a lot harder. Not saying that anyone should be doing any of those things, you really shouldn't be, but it's something that I noticed right away that like I wasn't able to like do as much around my car. One thing that's nice about having a Toyota Celica is that like it's like no one really wants it. Like it's not a cool old car. It's just kind of like a cheaper old car, I guess. So no one wants to try to steal the car. So, and even if they did steal it, they could only go 55 miles an hour, so nobody wants to steal it. But people still want to steal the stuff inside of it. Nothing, like I didn't leave anything necessarily valuable in the car. I left my jacket in the front seat, and if people see stuff out, then they want to, and the train station parking lot is not busy, so they could easily just, and so they broke my back window, and they took my tape deck and my jacket, and then they got into the trunk and they took my tool set. So when I came back from school that day, there were 2 security guards at my car, and here's what I mean when I say like is not a normal, like a popular car. So finding a replacement, because it was like this back small side window, finding a replacement for that for like a reasonable price was so hard. And like my mom, thank goodness for her, spent like so much time looking to find a reasonable way to get the window, and we found the guy who worked in Washington who like shipped it in from somewhere in Asia, I think, and then was willing to put it in. And so shout out to him. I don't remember who he is. It just, you know, it makes things more complicated. Like when I go to when something breaks in my car and I go to the store to look for parts, it's a lot harder to find parts that actually go in my car. Sportier cars make me feel like I can do more in them, which isn't necessarily true. So like I have like drifted my car unintentionally before. I've had to learn, you know, the limits of my car. Oil. My car has an oil leak. It's not bad enough that like I need to fix it now, but I mean it leaks oil on the ground and it eats the street away. But like honestly right now, like if it's not causing my car to break down, then like I'm gonna deal with it later, because lots of cars have oil leaks that don't get taken care of for a long time. You know, really early on when I had my car, I was like driving down the road with my friends in the car. We were going home for lunch, and it was raining and my windshield wiper was on, and then all of a sudden when my windshield wipers wiped, like one of them just like flew away out into the street, and like we were laughing really hard because like it was funny, and like none of us knew where it had gone, so like obviously we just kept driving. And then when I got home for lunch, I told my dad about it, and he was like, you should have gotten out of the car and you should have gotten the windshield wiper so that we could try it and see if it still worked and all the other stuff. So it became kind of like this big thing where I was like, I felt inadequate. Needless to say, I felt so guilty that like a couple hours later in the day, I did go back, did find it in the middle of the street. It was completely desecrated, but I got it anyways, and I showed it to my dad. I said, look here, I went back and got it. What can you do with it? And he said nothing. So we went and bought a new windshield wiper. I had to replace the radiator. It had a really big crack in it. It was leaking really bad. I had to order that too. My dad and I did it together. So like thank goodness that like he knew what he was doing. So yeah, it's just a lot more money. Like things just break more often. Like there's just more things breaking. Like my sunroof, it was leaking, and so like the ceiling of my car was really wet all the time and like dripping down onto the floor. But we figured out how to like blast air into the drains of it to get it cleared out, and then it was okay. The AC doesn't work. I think it worked for like the first month that I had the car, and now it just doesn't. So it's windows or nothing. For a while my front door would not open from the outside, so I would have to open the passenger door and either climb across the stick and then get in the seat and drive, or like reach across the stick and unlock the door and then go around and get in on the other side. So that just looked really stupid. My passenger has no airbag, so I have to be extra careful. Always have to warn people, you should be wearing your seatbelt, because if you're not, you're gonna die. It just involved driving 45 minutes home from where we were to get my spare key, and then drive 45 minutes back to unlock my car and get the keys out. Shout out to Ethan for doing that for me. Insurance, my insurance rate is higher because it's considered a sports car, even though like I said, it doesn't go very fast. I use a tape deck in there to listen to my music. It's one of those tape decks that like has the cord that you can hook up to your phone. My sound quality is not good. People comment on that all the time when they get in the car and they're listening to music. They're like, man, your speakers suck. And I'm like, yeah, but like at least they work. Like that's my new thing now with my cars. Like anything that works, I'm like totally praising, because man, it works. The paint is really getting faded. Like it is not, like it's a matte paint job. And so like it's not shiny, it does not look new, it looks kind of faded. And like I said, if like cars were my hobby and I kept wanting to like spend my money to update my car, then I would spend my money on like getting it repainted. But I would rather spend my money on clothes or food. So, I mean, I don't care. I mean, what it comes down to is like, yeah, it's cool and yeah, it's cute and like it says something about you, but I mean, as long as it gets me where I need to go, like that's what I care about. So my car looked nothing like anybody else's. So people didn't always like my car. A lot of times I'm sure a lot of people probably thought it was like stupid or something, but like I said, it was free and it runs. So yeah, so I mean, and the radiator I was able to fix like at home, like it did not break down on the side of the road. Like I knew that there was a leak. My car was smoking for a long time. In general, I feel like things could have been a lot worse as far as like the reliability of my car. The actual engine, the engine works great. It made me feel really good. I got to teach my boyfriend to drive it this Christmas. It's an accomplishment to be able to drive stick, and it had never been something that was like on my bucket list or something, but now that I know how to do it, I'm like, I know how to do it. It's a small car, so it gets pretty good gas mileage. That doesn't really have anything to do with it being an old car. It's just because it's a small car. Also, my car almost did not pass the DEQ when it went to be inspected, but it did. And I gotta take it back as soon as quarantine is over because my time's up. The car is small. It technically only seats 4 people, and I don't like to seat more people than 4 because that's illegal. And then I actually am the one getting the ticket now, so I have to take like into account like way more things about like breaking the law or not. My seatbelt is not super reliable. That sounds bad. It's pretty reliable. Sometimes while I'm in the middle of driving though, it will just like come unclipped. and then I'll be like, oh, better clip it back in. So another thing, like, probably should fix that sometime. It's not a high priority. I've driven it in the snow before. I should not have, but I did twice. But like, I just remembered like what I always, because we drive up to the mountain a lot to ski, so I was like, okay, like, you keep the car moving, you never stop the car. And I put on my brakes at first to test how slick it was. It was slick, we went sliding. I have made my car do things that it's really not meant to do, but it's a champ. In general, like, my car, oh, by the way, I should tell you my car's name. His name is Cherry Todd because he's red. His headlights open like eyes. Like, the car is cute. It's just like, it's just missing a lot of the conveniences that people have. I do not have seat warmers. I do not have a good stereo. My cup holders are crap. And like, whoever's sitting in the back is gonna be pretty squished. But like, I don't really care. I mean, like, those conveniences to me don't really matter. I mean, like, I would rather have like a cooler like car with more character and like miss out on those conveniences than to have a car that looks like everybody else's. You know, there are some people who own older cars because they specifically want to own older cars, and so obviously they know what they're doing because they're prepared to own older cars. I was not expecting this responsibility or any of those kinds of things, and I've been really lucky to have parents who like are so willing to help me with like finances and like telling me how to do things. As the car gets older and older, more things are likely to break, and it kind of comes down to like an opportunity cost game where it's like, is this worth it to me? In the grand scheme of things, I've been very fortunate with how my car has performed. I have gotten weird looks before if I'm like trying to figure something out with my car and I don't necessarily know how to do it, like people, and I feel people looking at me, I'm like, oh my goodness, they probably think like I'm stupid and have no idea what I'm doing, which is true. I mean, not the stupid part, but I did have no idea what I was doing usually. But like, that's gonna happen. There's no other way to figure it out but to just start trying things. Like when your windshield wiper flies off and you're at an intersection, maybe get out and get it, or at least look to see if you can see it. Maybe don't drive over a curb at 30 miles an hour or into snow in a two-wheel drive Toyota Celica. There's nothing wrong with an old car. I mean, I think my car is cool. I just want to say, like, if someone like me who breaks everything and is really bad when it comes to like responsibility of taking care of things, if I can do it, probably most people can do it. I had no idea what I was doing with my car when I first got it, and it was just like all of a sudden all this responsibility, and I like felt it. You just gotta learn while you do it. Probably people might look at you like you have no idea what you're doing, and people might make fun of you. People might think that your car is like ugly or gross, or especially like me, like in high school, like people were more likely to make fun of you if your car was not like expensive or like super nice looking. But it's a car, and if it moves you, and if it's working, then I would be thankful. There's also nothing wrong with like driving a car that's like got rust spots on it, or, you know, like the stereo antenna doesn't work, which is something else that doesn't work in my car. The gas pump door doesn't close unless you punch it, which is also something that happens in my car. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just a matter of where you're putting your money, and like, I'm not putting a lot of money into my car unless I have to. I care more about its functionality, but I do think my car looks cute. I do feel cool when the sunroof is open and I'm driving and I have my sunglasses on, and my horrible quality stereo is blasting. I do not mind that. I think my stereo, I feel lucky to have a stereo. Lots of people can't play their music in old cars because the stereo doesn't match up with any sort of technology they have. But I can play my music, so I'm happy. I'm making the best with what I got. I would not have been able to buy a car while I was in high school. I would not be able to buy a car now. So the fact that I got a free car and all I have to do is pay for gas and insurance, like, I don't care what people say about my car. I'm glad to have it. I don't know what to say anymore. Hope you and your cars have a great day.